David De Gea, Kyle Walker, Fabinho. Who will be the next name to join the illustrious list and be named the Premier League's best number 4? There are 16 number 4s in the top flight, with Chelsea, Huddersfield, Watford and Wolves the teams without one. Let's get going, and number 16 is Denis Odoi. This is the Belgian's third season as a Fulham player, and it's definitely been the toughest. Converted into a centre-back last season, things were easier for Odoi when he could play out from the back up against lesser sides, but that hasn't happened at all in the Premier League, and he alongside most of Fulham's defenders have been exposed this season, which is why they're heading back to the Championship. 15th place is Sean Morrison. This is Sean Morrison's second season as a Premier League defender, and it could very easily end in relegation once again. The Cardiff captain has been a pretty consistent figure at the back for Neil Warnock, but considering how leaky the Bluebirds' defence has been, it tells you that maybe Morrison isn't cut out for Premier League football. Solid in the Championship, but the top flight is a division too far. 14th goes to JANNIK Vestergaard. The Saints spent big money on the Danish defender last summer, arriving for 18 million quid from Werder Bremen. Sadly, it's fair to say that he hasn't been worth it. The Saints haven't been tough to break down, and Vestergaard has often played as if he's been running through treacle while boasting the turning circle of a bus. Vestergaard may be big, but that doesn't make you a great centre-back, something the decision makers at St Mary's obviously didn't know. 13th we've got CAGLAR SOYUNCU. I'm fairly certain I haven't said that right, but anyway, considering he cost £19 million, you'd think we'd have seen a bit more of CAGLAR SOYUNCU, or again, however you pronounce it. But no, the Turkish centre-back has had limited opportunities at the King Power Stadium. But the potential is certainly there, that's why he cost so much money at the age of 22. With ageing defenders such as Wes Morgan and Johnny Evans at the club, Soyuncu's time will come in the future, and by then I'll learn how to say his name. 12th place goes to Jack Cork, that's a better name. A Chelsea Academy graduate who spent most of his days out on loan, I mean that describes most Chelsea youngsters, but Jack Cork has forged out a Premier League career for himself, playing the top flight for Southampton, Swansea and now Burnley. He's nothing flash, but keeps the clouds ticking over and can break up play in the middle of the park. He's also got an England cap to his name, which in fairness was probably a bit too much, even in that one game he looked out of his depth. 11th place is Dan Gosling. The scorer of a phantom goal for Everton years ago when ITV cut out during the Merseyside derby, Dan Gosling has finally got the credit he deserves since joining Bournemouth. An absolute workhorse in the middle of the park, Dan Gosling runs more than most Premier League players do, even the marathon man N'Golo Kante. Gosling maybe hasn't done as well as his potential suggested, but is still a reliable Premier League midfielder for Eddie Howe. At 10 we've got KSUNG. A former South Korea captain and a title winner with Celtic, K is back in the Premier League this season with Newcastle following relegation at Swansea. Newcastle's number 4 is a master at keeping possession, always acting calm and composed in the middle of the park. And he was the man that kick-started Newcastle's season, with their first wins coinciding with him entering Rafa Benitez's midfield. 9th place is MOHAMED.ELNENY. In terms of hair, El-Neni would be much higher, but we've got to consider footballing ability as well, unfortunately. The Egyptian midfielder took the number 4 shirt last season after Per Mertesacker hung up his boots, but opportunities under Unai Emery have been limited, with the new boss looking to transform Arsenal. But on his day he's a decent holding midfielder, which is why Arsene Wenger signed him in the first place in 2016. At number 8 it's Shane Duffy. Since moving to Brighton in 2016, Shane Duffy has had an excellent partnership with Lewis Dunk, one that has received rave reviews, although most of the plaudits did go to Dunk as he's English and that's the way the media works. But Duffy has been excellent too, with Chris Hughton's side always proving to be well drilled. And Duffy's had an eye for goal too, proving a massive threat from set pieces after failing to score last season. 7th place is Fabian Balbuena. West Ham signed some exciting players last summer, but Fabian Balbuena was one I knew nothing about. But the Paraguayan defender quickly proved his worth, taking to the Premier League like a duck to water after spending his whole career in South America. Balbuena's injury hurt the Hammers, so it's a good job he's back to full fitness. For just £4 million, what a bargain he's proven to be, one of the best of the season. Number 6 is Phil Jones. Once dubbed the heir to John Terry's throne, Phil Jones is now more famous for pulling silly faces every time he walks onto a football pitch. But while he's largely considered as a banter player nowadays, the former Blackburn man is still a solid old-fashioned centre-half, he's just not as good as people thought he would be, which is why Manchester United have spent so much money on centre-halves in years gone by. Go on Phil, give us your best smile. Oh dear. At 5 is Michael Keane. From a current Manchester United man to a former Red Devil, Michael Keane gets in just ahead of Phil Jones, and only just, this one was the flip of a coin. Keane is an England international who started to improve at Everton after a brutal first season where he looked nothing like the defender he'd become at Burnley under Sean Dyche. 4th place goes to Vincent Kompany. A few years ago, I considered Vincent Kompany to be the best centre-back in the world. A nightmare to come up against and a leader at the back, Kompany has been everything right about Manchester City. But as the years have gone by, injuries have mounted up and Kompany's minutes on the pitch have depleted, which is why he doesn't make the top 3. Kompany will go down as a Manchester City legend, but will he be lifting the Premier League trophy this year? Third is LUKA MILIVOJEVIC. The Crystal Palace captain moved to the club in 2017 for about 11 million quid, and now the Serbian has to be considered one of the best outside the top 6 and just as important to Palace as Wilfried Zaha. Okay, maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but he's still damn good. Whether it's protecting the back 4 or his incredible set piece ability, Milivojevic is Mr. Reliable for Crystal Palace and so much more than just a penalty merchant. Second and runner up is TOBY ALDERWEIRELD. If you ignore his comical own goal the other day, TOBY ALDERWEIRELD is one of the Premier League's best. Whether it's long range passing from deep or his reading of the game, the Belgian centre-half has been key to Tottenham going from 4th place contenders to challenging for the title. Although then again they might not even finish in the top 4 this season. Spurs could lose Alderweireld for £25 million this summer, which would be a travesty for them. And in first place it's Virgil van Dijk. This was never really a competition, to be honest, it was more about what order people would finish below the big Dutchman. No one has transformed a side as much as Virgil van Dijk. Liverpool's defence were a laughing stock, and since he arrived they've been one of the meanest around, but that's exactly what you'd expect for £75 million. There's a reason he's the favourite to win the Player of the Year, and he goes down as the Premier League's best number 4. So there we go, that's number 4 done. Let us know what you think in the comments below, thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.